Odyssey was created just so that we could help individuals to find themselves and to find different modalities that will help you on your journey. Unfortunately, we wasn't born with an instruction manual. And so as we make our way through the voyage of life, sometimes it's makes life easier if we work with many different modalities to help us. Me as a psychic medium and a trance, we have the numerologist, the colorologist, human design person. We have many practitioners that have trained as in counseling, therapy, with a whole collection of people, and also we have an astrologer as well. So who we're introducing today is, this is live people, so I'm just going to make sure my teeth are in. But who we have today is Rebecca Raab, and she's a human design person. Would you like to say hi, Rebecca, so everyone can see you?
Yeah, hello. Good to meet you all.
I love that. We're actually in front of a live audience right now. So there's no cut and retaking. We're actually in front of a live audience, and those who's going to be listening to this later, welcome to Odyssey. So Rebecca, I've heard a little bit about human design because we often have a conversation about human design, and it always blows me away. So I think for the audience I hear, if you give us a bit of a clue, actually, what is human design and how it can help us. So what is human design?
Yeah, it's quite a complex question, but I'll try and distill it down to something we can understand. Human design maps our energetic coding. It's linked to our genetics and our DNA, so it really does go quite deep, and it helps us to know ourselves quite deeply. We take very complex things from spirituality as well as science to map how different we are than anyone else. So every single person has a completely unique chart made up of 26 different imprinting factors. So everyone's chart is one in a trillion. And within human design, that's what we're working with. It's known as the science of differentiation. So how different you are compared to anyone else in the world.
Oh my God, where do I start? Like, wow, 1 in a trillion. My goodness
You see
me.
how hard it is to put it down into like a sentence? I'm like, what's human design? I'm still working on that.
I just love the fact that I've seen the evidence myself with individuals that have come to you. And, I don't say this lightly because anyone that I do promote is that I know their work. But I do know that those people that do come to you, they find out more about themselves. And that's the thing that, our mission statement from Odyssey is literally that we help people to understand themselves better. It is like the manual that we wasn't given at birth. So what brought you to Odyssey, not Odyssey, because we know why you brought you to Odyssey, because you're one of the co-founders, of course. But what brought you to human design? What made you look at human design?
It came about in a really funny way. I wasn't looking for it. So my background, I started off being in quite a religious background, not anything extreme, but it was just I was in a Church of England school, so was brought up with around a religion. And then as I was growing up, I was brought up around spirituality, and nothing quite fit completely. And I still couldn't figure out who I was or where I was going, and I couldn't make decisions reliably as myself. My gut wasn't taking me to the right places. And it was during a big burnout where a friend of mine said to me, "Have you done your human design?" And I was like, I don't want any more modalities. I don't want to do another personality test. I don't want to know anything else. And she really pushed me. She said, please go and do it. So I did it. And I showed her my chart and she said, that's cool. And I said, well, what's it mean? She says, I don't know. It's like, what? So because of that, I went into my process and went into studying. And that's how I became certified, by just studying and studying and studying to find out who I was. But the reason why I've stuck with this modality was it was the first modality to really see me for who I was. And I think all of the practitioners within Odyssey stick with the modality which has given them the biggest change. And for me, it was human design. It's the only one that's really seen me as deeply as I needed it to see me.
So saying that, what did you learn about yourself then? Because it's normally like through what we learn about ourselves is something that, is our passion, and then we sort of can go on to help others. So what is it that human design identified for you that made you think, right, okay, it's resonating for me. I can understand like who I am, what I am, because I know there's different types of individuals in human design. So can you let us know about those types and then what you found out about yourself?
Yeah, so within human design, there are four energy types. So depending on how the different planet activations fall within your chart, you'll go into one of four categories. And that is the biggest surface level piece because then it goes very unique underneath that. But we can put it into four categories, so four energy types. So one of them is a generator, another one is a projector, then a reflector, and a manifester. So four different energy types. So when I came to human design, I was in that burnout and I really couldn't figure out why I kept being in these burnouts. I kept seeing my parents who were doing more than me, and I was getting told there must be something wrong with you, go for more blood tests, figure out what's up with you. But I just kept burning out and I kept trying to find my path, but nothing was fitting. So when I came to human design and I ran my chart, it told me that I was a projector. And projectors are 20% of the population. So we're a minority and we're here to operate very, very differently. So the generalized spiritual advice doesn't apply to me. And actually, when you go deeper into people's charts, the generalized advice doesn't actually fit anyone. It's too blanket. But especially if you're in one of the minority groups, like projector, reflector, or manifester, you really do not fit in with that generalized advice. We can feel very like we don't belong, like we don't know who we are. So it was the first system to say to me, yeah, you're one of the 20%. So you are going to run out of energy. You don't have consistent energy available. And you're here to operate differently.
And I love that because, when I'm talking with clients, and when I'm teaching students, some students won't, if I'm working looking at psychically or working mediumistically, whatever, when I'm working with my students, sometimes I sort of say to them, activate your guides, and someone like, well, I can't feel any guides, there's nothing going on. And it's like, well, how are you picking up information? And so it's like they're not too sure either. So with what I found when, we've had these conversations is sometimes that someone is unable actually to fill into their guides or to feel that, but they know they get something psychically because of to do with their human design and who they are. And then when they go over to human design and they look at that, they're like, oh, I know who I am now. So I understand myself so much better. And that's hence why there are so different modalities. Colorology will work with somebody else, and then you've got numerology with somebody else, and astrology. So the idea is just to layer them up to understand, to have a greater understanding of who they are. So with yourself, did you find that actually by knowing that being a projector, did you allow yourself certain things in yourself, sort of giving yourself permission to do things or not to do things? Because that can be also another sort of, I was going to say something then, but I'm just going to say mess with the head. I know we're live. So did that mess with your head before you knew who you were, and then now it's sort of giving you permission to be who you want to be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I think we all feel within us when something feels right for us or doesn't feel right for us, but we see that how generally society is going, or what we're told that we should be like, or we should be in this 9 to 5 job and we should be able to have energy for that, and all these shoulds. We're like, yeah, it's not feeling right, but I should be doing this. And we just force ourselves into this kind of role. We call that homogenization within human design. So we say we're in a homogenized cookie cutter role. And when I came to human design, I got permissions from my chart, things like you won't have the same energy as everyone else. That's not disempowering, that's validating to my experience. I have an undefined identity center. So one of the 9 centers in the chart is undefined. And that means I'm not going to know where I'm going. And I'm not here to know where I'm going. So it's the permission to go, you're not here to fit into a role. There's all these different permissions. And I find even now with clients, I love giving them permissions from their chart, because I find when you go into a session with other modalities, and obviously I do love human design in that sense, so I'm going to push this one. But when you go with other modalities, they're going in and they don't know anything about you, as in the practitioner doesn't know anything about you. But when you come to human design, that we can see the exact spots where you need permissions, validating, as well as your strengths and also your challenges. So looking at someone's chart like that, I find it to be very, permission giving, validating to people's experiences. So when I've had clients that have come to me before and they've said, I've been working with a therapist for 3 years and I can't figure out this and I can't get over this, I'm like, let's just twist this, because actually this is who you are. Why are you trying to change this? This is within the coding of your chart. There was someone that came to me, they've been working with a therapist for 3 years because they couldn't figure out their emotions. And I looked at their chart, their emotions are subconsciously defined. They're not going to be able to pinpoint where that was. And it was the most validating thing for their experience to go, if I just stop trying to focus my energy on going, I need to label this because that's what therapy tells you to do. Since then, that 1 year progress was insane. They completely changed their life. It's amazing.
I love that, because there's this other thing, I have a label of being dyslexic, and how I might think And then there's other people that have been labeled. Look, I am a therapist counselor as well, so I know about labels to some degree, and that's why I like combining all my skill sets, not just to be the conventional therapist, but to use other things as part of it. But there are other labels like, being autistic or having Asperger's, whatever. I'm not saying that could help you with design, but I'm wondering if actually if someone who came to you and thought that they have been labeled with autistic or traits or whatever, the human design will actually put them in the small percentages of whatever, or do you know what I mean? Looking at that point of view, I mean, that would be brilliant to do a massive research program and to sort of like, if this is you, if this is you. Because I know again, it's like different about numerology. When I talk to our numerologist and I sort of say, well, this is their date of birth and who are they, whatever. And they're like, well, they're a number six, and this is what number six is doing. I'm like, oh my God. And then layering it up with the human design on top of it, it makes so much sense. So with that, I also know that we've had a conversation before that, because you've told me stuff about myself, and I'm like, oh my God, now I know why we function. I mean, we are connected, we are related. So I am the mother, sorry for my sins. I am the mother. And I didn't understand you as a child. Didn't understand because I was like, why is she
Oh,
so
it's completely different. You look at my chart. Yes, I'm a projector, but I'm also a mental projector. Mental projector's been like 1 or 2% of the whole population. So whereas yourself, you're a generator, you're an emotional generator, and generators account for 70% of the world. So you can see that most of the people in the world are generators, and there's me, little mental projector over here, no gut feelings, nothing defined in the body, being all in the head, being all logical, and you're going, you're just so logical. And then there's you with your emotional authority, just going, you're not feeling enough. I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is me. This is you. But because it is, especially mental projectors are not the majority. Yeah, I'm different, and people won't get that. But this is why that system saw me so deeply and was like, you're not here to trust your gut. And I was like, haha, spirituality. And now I've got my own decision-making tool, and I don't have an emotional center to find, but I'm picking up on everyone else's emotions, whereas you've got this wave of emotions going on. So very different processes.
And I don't suppose it helped me being a medium and on my father's side and my mother's side being mediums, which I didn't know they were mediums, like going back. So that didn't help either because I was trying to tune in and I was like, there's something not quite right here.
This is the message that a lot of projectors get, or manifestors or reflectors, because we're the minority. Parents, and this is no dig because obviously we're fine, we have a relationship with each other still and it's fine, but a lot of parents will say there's just something wrong with you. And it's like, I promise I'm just normal. But this is why I felt very validated and seen within this system, because it's the first one to say to me, this is normal for you, but you're not going to fit in with the 99% of the world that aren't mental projectors. This
But
is why I like it, so specific.
But this is what I like about this with the human design, because the thing is, it's really important, like with the soul pods, your families that you're born into, trying to understand each other. So also relationships when, you're, I know might sound ridiculous to some people, but like contemplating on being in a relationship with somebody, but you just can't understand exactly how they're functioning, how they're working, but you love them so much, but you want to try and work out how they're thinking, what's the best thing to do, how to communicate with them. So, being a mother of a child that was not the same as myself. What am I again, did you say?
You're an emotional generator. I think you're
Right,
a
an emotion.
6'2" emotional generator, I believe.
Right.
Just
So
checking.
being an emotional generator, I hadn't got a clue. I was like, I don't know. I read up all the books, I studied psychology, I was a counselor therapist, but still I was something not quite right. So for families, whatever role you play in your family helps you to understand the other people in your family or your partner. So that's one of the really good things. But there's, even though not just about the personality, there was something you said to me once about where I should think about living and what fulfills my heart. And I was like, how do you know that? So do you remember what you said about whether there's something about either living on a mountain or high up or something, or to be
Yeah.
in a valley? There's something you said.
This is one of the deeper layers of human design. So I only really touch upon it for people that are new to human design, because really when you come to human design, you want to know your energy type, your strategy, and your authority. And just knowing those three things means you can experiment, because human design is saying, here's all this theory. We can tell you stuff that's really deep into your chart, but the three things that matter are these three, and human design has to be lived. And we also always say, don't believe anything we're saying, go and experiment, because this is the theory, go and test it. But yeah, the deeper part of human design is called PHS, which is primary health system. So we can go into your digestion, your environment, your perspectives, your motivations, your viewpoints. And for you, your environment is valleys wide. So it's all about being in nature, yes, being in landscapes rather than man-made hardscapes. And valleys wide can be like at the bottom of a valley, but it's also to do with sound. So hearing the birds from a distance, not being able to hear that like close, or not being able to see it close up, you're hearing stuff from afar. So there's different kind of nuances. It does go very deep, but that's what I would say about your environment.
I mean, and I absolutely love that because where I'm living right now is sort of West London, which is quite central, and there's building work everywhere, and there's police cars, and I feel jangled, like as if it's like someone's scratching down a chalkboard. It's that's why I have to move out into the countryside. So that makes so much sense. A lot of the stuff that you've said makes so much sense to myself as well. Now, I'm interested because you're looking at running courses shortly about this as well, so people can help to discover things about themselves. So that's coming up shortly, those courses, where they can sort of tune in, have a little, I say tune in, also not going to use the word tuning in, but they can,
Still can, right? You can kind of mix these things, you know.
so they can have a look at themselves and they can understand themselves. I think that is the most important thing, is that they go through the course and then they can discover things about themselves, and then they can go deeper if they want to do that. Now, I'm interested that we have audience members here that we're communicating with right now. And I would be interested, I don't know if there's any research into this, but I'd be interested to find out the ones that are sitting with us here live in the audience, what they would be. So I think
Mm,
that's a way of doing that, Rebecca, that we can see what they are, sort of generally
yeah.
having a little flick through, so that we can then sort of have, because I'm interested in who are drawn to certain things and why they want to sort of see things, if that makes sense.
Well, what we can do is, and this will apply to people that are here, but also people that are watching the recording. I'm just going to quickly share my screen so you can make your own charts so you can find out for yourself. Is if you go onto a website called Jovian Archive, so it looks like this, it's jovianarchive.com. You can make a free chart. So this is the official kind of human design website, one of the official places. You've got to be a bit careful with human design. There's a lot of places that pop up that aren't legit, but Jovian Archive is one of the core key foundation places we go to. So you go onto Jovian Archive, you just click get your free chart, and then you just type in your information. You do have to know your exact birth time, because that can change minute by minute. So the more accurate you can get with the birth time, the better it is, especially for the big pieces. But yeah, go and make it, and feel free to type in the chat box if you're live on the call what you are. Just tell me if you're like a 6-2 emotional generator or a 1-3 mental projector, whatever you are. We can just start seeing what different energy types we've got here.
And that's interesting you said about the actual exact time, because I didn't know my exact time, and I gave you a time originally, something it was in the morning, something past 11 o'clock in the morning. I think it was like 20 past 11 or quarter past 11, and you looked at the chart and you were reading it off to me, and I was like, that doesn't feel like me, and you said the same thing, and then we added like 10 minutes or something to it, and then it was spot on, and we're like, oh my God, that's the time. So I actually told my
Changes
mum,
minute by minute. Yeah.
it was 11:26 or something, whatever it was, and she goes, well, it might have been. It was before lunchtime. So there is a way of, like, if you don't know exactly, there is a way there that you can have a little look around with that as well. Totally. So that would make sense. So do you feel that knowing yourself now has changed your life? And that might sound a bit dramatic, but has it changed your life and how you see things?
Well, I mean, yeah, it sounds dramatic, but yeah, the reason, I haven't always been this confident. I haven't always been able to stand up in front of people. I used to have panic attacks. I used to feel very insecure, and I didn't know who I was, and I kept getting burnouts. And it's been a progression of different modalities and different systems and traveling, like solo traveling and all of this stuff. So lots of life experiences. But the pivotal moment was human design, because it gave me so many permissions to stop saying should, and actually kind of gave me a new rule book to say to people that would say, well, you should be in a job. I'm like, well, no, I'm here to work 2 hours a day. That's kind of rough. But projectors are here to work a lot less. We've got 4 motors in the chart. I've got no motors. So I'm really energyless mental projector. So I don't have consistent energy at all in my chart. So the permissions there. So when people were telling me this stuff, I could say to them, well, actually, no. And I don't even have to tell them. I could just say it to myself. I don't have to listen to this because I've got my own thing that's given me scaffolding to build up who I am. There comes a point in human design when you've got the scaffolding around you. And once you've been in it long enough, then you start taking the scaffolding off and start relearning who you are without that scaffolding. But it's quite nice at the beginning to get that scaffolding around you while you're building up your confidence, while you're trying to navigate your life. Then you dismantle it and you find out again who you are without human design. So there's a different process depending on where you are in your experiment of human design.
I'm just thinking, I'm not sure if it is, but it's just something coming to my head. Could that even help you with like, I don't know if it's possible, but it just came in. Could it even help you with like what foods you eat? Or you said about where to move to, like locations and stuff. But could this also look at the mechanics of the physical body, as in what you might need? You said to me a minute ago about me needing nature to live in, and that makes so much sense for me. But I'm wondering, could that affect the whole body system in another way? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So within the chart, on even like a surface level, because we're touching on things that are very deep into the chart. So even on a surface level, when you look at a chart, you've got the red stuff and you've got the black stuff. 13 activations in red, 13 activations in black. The black stuff is all your mind, like conscious awareness of who you are, or like who you think you are, because you're only aware of half the picture. The red elements, all subconscious, they actually represent your body coding. So we take two charts rather than astrology just taking one. So on a surface level, we can see your energy dynamics, right? It's almost, I was always also thinking, because I know when you do your psychic development classes, how you get people to tune into people's energy and you can feel if there's a block in the throat and things like that. It's almost like you can see the centers that people have and you can then see all that different stuff. I don't know why my trail of thought's just gone then. Your attention went away. Your attention went, so my attention went. Okay. And then the body. So yes, we can look into the body and we look into the mind, we look at the quantum together, but yes, with food. So human design goes through 4 different transformation steps. One of the first steps before you even get to the transformation steps is sleeping in your own aura, because you need to feel who you are at kind of your ground zero. Like, who am I? And if you're in awe of people, and your aura within human design is mechanical, it goes out for 2 meters. So you need to be 4 meters away from anyone else around you. You want to wake up as yourself. You don't want to be sleeping near animals or pets or partners or anything like this. You might want to do that for a couple of weeks if you can. So you can really start feeling who you are without anyone else's influence around you. But yeah, so when we go into those different transformation steps, one of those steps is digestion and is food. And it's not necessarily food groups. There are parts in human design where you can look into the specific activations, because each center has a different biological association. So whether it's the liver, the heart, the stomach, things like this. So we can, if there's someone's got a thyroid problem, we can pinpoint it to where it is in the chart and we can see what we can do to help that, because it goes into genetics and biological correlations. But yes, one of the steps in PHS, the deeper layer, is digestion. It's not so much food groups like only eat greens or only yellows or be vegan. It's not that. It's actually talking about the process of how you digest best. So me and you are at 2 different spectrums. So I'm nervous touch and you are calm. So when I'm eating, I need things to be going on around me. I need to be touching my food. And when I'm doing that, my body's getting the nutrients. For you, you need to be very still and very calm. And there's different pairings as well, like direct light, indirect light, alternating, consecutive, all these different things, hot, cold, all relating to different parts. And it's about getting the right nutrients to give your brain the right nutrients so you can see the right things. So we give the brain the right nutrients, we give the body the right place, the right environment, and then we go into perspective. So there's 4 different transformation steps.
I love that, because I remember when you were younger, I was like, sit still, turn the radio, even when you were studying. And
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
digestion isn't just food, digestion is also digestion of information. So that would count for studying. Even when I'm on a call, I'm like playing with something or like whatever it is, because I have to be nervous touch. That's how I do it. But that old wives' tale of you can't go swimming after you've eaten. No, that's the exact time I'm going swimming, because it helps me digest food. It doesn't make me feel sick.
I love that. And so I love the fact that by us knowing ourselves better, because for me, also living in my family background, me growing up as a child, there was never quietness, and it was always a lot going on. And I always had an upset stomach. You know, I developed irritable bowel, and I've got to have a quiet place when I eat. So when you told me this, I was like, oh my God, I knew that as a child. And yet I'm a 54 year, no, 55, I forgot how old I am. 55 year happens. I'm a 55-year-old woman. And it's like, I didn't know that as a child growing up. And I can see now, having this conversation with you now, how important it is when you're finding this out from the younger ages if you can, so that you then, as you move on, you understand yourself better. But even now, knowing myself, I look back and reflect back and I go, oh, that is probably why I had irritable bowel. You know, my stomach was twisting with certain foods, and obviously stuff that was going on, the chaos in my family life. So that makes so much sense. And also, you know, when I've said to you, as you said, you fiddle with things, you know, if I'm writing something, I have to have it quiet, or if I'm doing my emails, no music on, nothing, can't take that. And I remember you when you were studying, when you was a child, and you had music on all the time, and it was like, you're supposed to be concentrating because you used to have the TV on when you was like
I
trying to
have
do
to. I just have to have like Friends or something playing in the background that I could just like mentally tune out of, but just have it there. Whereas you are completely the other end where you have to have it
it.
calm.
So it's interesting. I know some people in the audience, they're writing down what they are. So somebody's manifesting generator, and then let me just check the other one out because it came up a minute ago and it's gone out of my head as it always does. Let's have a little look. Okay, what's the other one? We've got one as a
Got
man.
a 5-1 generator, a 5-1 sacral generator, and we've got a 1-3 manifesting generator with an emotional authority. So a 1-3 emotional manifesting generator is what we'd say for that one.
That's interesting. I like doing that just to see. So it's just like, oh, who's interested in human design? Because there must be a selection of people that also are interested in it. Some people they're not going to be. For me, it's very mathematical and stuff, and for me, it's straight away. I'm like, oh,
Thing
gotta.
is, like people do say this, right? They go, it's really mathematical. Actually, the numbers just represent a lot of words. So actually, it's just once you know what the number means, it's just there's no maths involved. I don't do any maths. I'm not a mathematician myself, you know. But for example, when I'm saying they're like 1-3 or 5-1 and you're a 6-2, that sounds baffling, but actually they represent how you move through life. So I'm also a 1-3 profile. So the same as someone in the audience. So a 1-3 profile, the one line dives deep into theory and foundation, likes to build up a really strong foundation before you speak about anything. And the third line has to really practically try it out. So until you know enough information, until you've tried it out in your trial and error way, then you don't feel comfortable. That's how you move through life. You have to fail, you have to succeed. This kind of trial and error and getting that strong foundation, wanting a strong foundation within your friends and family groups. Otherwise, you're going to be making and breaking bonds, right? So you break the bonds within your friendship groups so you can rebuild them again. So they've got a strong foundation. That's the 1-3. But you are a 6-2. So for yourself as a 6-2, you've had a really distinctive 3-part process of your life where the first 30 years would have been quite horrendous, actually, especially the 6-2 profile. This is for you. Are you looking at me? You're looking around.
What I am looking at also
Oh,
is
okay.
we have what I am looking at is somebody in the audience has put theirs up as manifesting generator. So I'm looking at that, and they have profiles 1-3. I'm just like, I don't know how you, and they are a twin. Wow. So it'll be interesting. I wonder if that will change slightly because they might be born before or after the other person that's individual. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, now I just want to have a look at this. So it's very interesting how they are, and how it's like it's to me it's like soul coding, and I often say that when I talk to numerologists, like and I always go to the risk because this is what I'm shown with spirit, is that they also show me this coding going down to their arms and stuff. So it's a bit like that coding. It's like actually seeing it through human design, your soul coding, and you coming in, and as I say, numerology is the same thing, and when we do the colorology and the astrology, so it's like layers. It's almost like then you're getting your own book, your own manual of who you are, why you're here. Oh yeah, does that look at why you might be here as well, sort of thing?
Yeah, it gives you a purpose. I pulled your purpose up earlier.
Oh,
Um, your purpose is all around bumping into karma, which isn't yours, by the way. You're bumping into transpersonal karma. So you're just bumping into people that are just doing stuff, and you're like, why is this coming at me? You know, that's one of those things. But you're here to obscure us with detail, which leads to extraordinary discoveries. That's just a section of your
oh,
purpose. That's just one thing because we add it all together actually, so it's a synthesis. But just that little sentence there, you're here to obscure us, give us so much detail and like mystical knowings because it's the 61st gate. You've got the 62nd gate, which is all about details. It goes down to the 61st, which is grounding you, which is mystical knowings, inner truth, wanting to know about spirituality, wanting to know about bigger things than this. And you lead us to extraordinary discoveries.
My goodness, who knew that? I just discovered that. But you know,
That's
what
true.
I've been doing, especially since my accident 20 something years ago, I've decided that I'm gonna live my purpose and my passion. So it makes sense to me in a way by living my passion, by living my purpose, that I'm actually, you know, when you say that to me, it's interesting that then now I'm followed I in my terminology, I followed my gut instinct and then tuned into them. So that makes sense. So yes, what you're saying is like the confirmation from it is absolutely brilliant. I love that. We've also got someone in the audience that says they're an emotional projector. They're a 5-1. Oh, goodness me. God, that sounds complicated. I have no idea.
Well, no, it's nice to have another projector in the call because it sounds like we've got a lot of generators and manifesting generators, but then I'm outnumbered, so I'm glad I've got one projector on the call.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, right, okay, we were talking about purpose.
Yeah.
So, we're saying from what you've just read out is that they can find their purpose from their charts, sort of like
Yeah.
what should be, because it makes sense what you just said, what I just said, we got a bit distracted, but of what you said about me doing that, and that makes sense because I'm doing that right now, you know, creating Odyssey and everything else and working with you through Odyssey and then bringing everybody together. Yeah, so that makes sense.
The thing is that we can't give you your exact job, right? Because the thing is like your life purpose is a vibration, a frequency. It's held within you, and you're going to fulfill that purpose in every conversation that you have with every single mundane conversation or big conversation. Your purpose can be applied to lots of different situations. The only way you're going to find your actual job or your partner is by living life and trying that experiment of strategy and authority. But yeah, we can give you the flavor of why you're here and the role in which you do it and how you can align with that for sure, and give you the permissions and validations to live that. But then it goes into living life, which is where we hand it back over to you. So human design is about empowering people to be their own guidance system rather than going to gurus or their friends, or like, how do you actually make a decision? You know, it's about you making that decision for yourself. And now's the perfect timing to learn how to make that decision for yourself because there's so many shifts in energy at the moment. So we need to know
I
how to
love
make it ourselves.
I love that because it is the experiment of life, as you said. It is the experiment of life. It's about living and you know the whole soul thing that we go through. So I absolutely love it. So I'm sort of adding a little bit of salt and pepper to this as from the terminology of energy and stuff like that. But yeah, it just makes so much sense. I absolutely love this. So hang on, out of interest,
Yeah.
what does your chart say that you should be doing?
Again, it's not going to give me a job, but I'm a mental projector. So what I'll do is I'll just share my screen so I can refer to it so you
Oh,
can
I
see
love this.
talking about. So we've got your chart here. So if we want to refer to that, we can, but I'll just pull up my chart as
Yeah.
well. So we can see from here that I'm a 1-3 mental projector, and my cross is the cross of the unexpected. So this, I'll pull this up as well so you can actually hear what this says. Let me just pull up on my screen. Oh, that's nice. We're on the same page, so I actually don't have to scroll. It's just there. That's different. Anyway, so mine says, people with inherent power to attract the collective's attention, who become our unexpected leaders or heroes. Their nurturing influence is discovered and acclaimed in the midst of the unexpected. And essentially, so the things that come into my life are all about coming in the most unexpected ways and being surprised. One of my phrases is literally just to be surprised each day. And it was something that someone gave me a while ago, but it's something that stuck with me before. But I'm here to be someone who learns about things with that first line, the 1-3, learns about things, builds a strong foundation to my learning and understanding, being quite logical in that process, yes, and then trying it out for myself and actually going, well, what's the experiment all about? So trying it out. And I am here to be quite in my mind. See, what's interesting when we look at my chart versus your chart, which I'll pull up in a minute, so you can see the amount of openness in my chart. I've got 2 defined centers, 7 undefined, including 2 completely open centers. The completely open centers being my biggest points of conditioning because there's nothing grounding me, right? No hanging gates. So you can see that my energy runs through my mind. It runs down to my throat. So I'm literally here to be recognized and invited to speak about my perspectives, to structure things within society, to structure things in client sessions and to speak about what I know, my perspectives. That's what I'm here for. But I'm so sensitive to the outside world, so sensitive to people. If we pull up your chart to see the complete difference here.
If only I had that chart when you were younger, then I could understand what I was saying, that you was logical. Well, it makes sense because your human design chart does say that.
Yeah, and you said earlier about age, and it is better to get this information basically as soon as you're out of the womb. If we could give this to parents and just say, hey, here's the instruction manual for your kid, that's exactly what's intended.
I
But
think we should do that.
we can, though. People do come to me, they say, I've just had a kid, can I have the chart? And I will tell them what the chart says, but it's a bit hard to apply because they don't know the personality yet and things like this. But it's completely possible. You want to get it as soon as you can because there's deconditioning cycles of 7 years. But most of my clients are actually in their 50s, 60s, 70s. And they'll come and they'll be like, that makes so much sense. Like, how can I align now? And we work to what we can do now. So it's completely fine, whatever age you are. And I actually work with people that are 50 plus most of the time, but I've worked with all age groups. But within your chart, you can see from yours that you're mostly defined down the bottom bit. And again, that's nothing to do with grounding. It doesn't mean you're more grounded than me because people see this and go, this is the chakra system and it's based on it, but it's not the chakra system. So you can see that for yourself, you've got this definition down here. You've got the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the splenic center, and the identity center. But you've got an undefined head, mind, and throat and heart. So we operate almost in the complete opposites, right? So this is why we find it difficult sometimes to go, wait, what are you talking about? Because there's such a different process here. You were saying just before you jumped on the call that you have all this energy before this call. And I was like, oh, I'm actually a little bit nervous because I'm in the limelight now. It's not my client in the limelight. I'm in the limelight this time. But you were explaining it as you just have this rush of energy for this stuff. And for you, you're a generator and you're here to do the things that light you up. So anything that's giving you this sense of, I don't know why, I just have energy available is the perfect thing for you. And yes, you do have a consistent access to gut instinct. That's that splenic center. Whereas when you look into my chart, I do not have that splenic center. I do not have that sacral center. I have no consistent access to a bodily gut instinct. This is animalistic instinct, knowing that danger's around the corner. And the amount of times I put myself into danger and you as a psychic medium have gone, where are you? I'm like, I'm on a mountain. I'm lost. I'm lost. And you're like,
Why are
but
you?
you're in Norway. I can't do anything about it. I'm like, it's all right. I'll figure it out. I'm a 1-3 profile. I just kind of find my way. Like, you know.
Do you remember when you was living in New Zealand for a while, for about a year or so, and you said, Mum, can I put you on WhatsApp locator so you can find me if anything ever happens to me? I went, I am a medium that works remotely. I can find you anyway. I don't need that system. And then when the whole thing happened with the pandemic, I said, get out of that country now, as you was in China.
I was in China. I was like, and you're like, I've got this feeling you're not going to be safe. Like, you need to leave. There's a pandemic.
And she's like, no. And I said, you're going to get the last flight out. No, I'm not. I'll take my time. Thank God, like your brother, my son is a pilot, and we got her out quick. And it was the last flight out. There you go.
But so this is the thing. So I accept that I don't have this inner gut feeling, and I will work at that. It doesn't mean I'm not intuitive. It doesn't mean that I can't be psychic. That is complete nonsense. But it's this gut instinct around if something's safe or not, or instinct. It's just instinctual knowing about that stuff. But you can see within your chart that you do have consistent access to this, and that's something you should really listen to, your gut instinct. The only thing for you really is that your emotions will rule. So for you, you need to wait over time because quick decisions will take you off track. But this availability of energy is your question. Do I have energy available for this? And if you don't, it's not aligned. This is like a fuel tank, like a gas station, a petrol station. And you're equipped with all the fuel you need to do the certain things. And for a generator, when you are doing the wrong thing for yourself, it's like putting diesel into an unleaded car. So your car starts sputtering and it doesn't work properly. So your sacral center holds all the potential fuel. And this is why within these calls, you can see that it's aligned for you, even with client sessions and things like this, because you go, I don't know why I've just got energy available. It's like you're a generator. A load of energy is there for this stuff. Energy is available for this stuff, right? But something really interesting when you go onto the calls and you said to me beforehand, I don't know what I'm going to say. That's perfect for you. You want to be someone who has energy for things, but doesn't have a clue what they're going to say. And that's
No.
fine because you feel into the energy of the space and you're adaptable, which can make you an incredibly skilled communicator. So the open spaces are where your wisdom lies, but also your biggest challenges and vulnerabilities are. So you could see this as, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to say. So you never get up on stage ever, because that's how your mind would protect you and your defense mechanism. When you learn the wisdom of the open centers, you go, I don't know what I'm going to say, but I've learned that I'm actually quite intuitive. So when I turn up, I have something to say. And that's how we flip the narrative of the mind. So a lot of the work that I do is actually rewriting narratives of the mind and turning it from a limitation into actually that's your strongest skill set. And that's where we need to rewire.
And I think that's really good because I mean, look, what you've said about that chart with me, it's like I know I've done the work with my guides. I'm a medium and a trance medium and a channeler. And I know if I really get stuck, I say, guys, come on, can you come on board? What do I say next? And I know they're going to give me information. But I know there's also stuff that you've told me, finding out more about this, was that literally you said, don't make a decision, you know, snap, you need to take your time. And that's something I've learned, which I found that from you over the last couple of years. The other thing is that sometimes we've run retreats and I've kept going all day long, and then you'll go, have you eaten? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Because
And
as a generator, when you have availability of energy for that, I mean, it does stop, but you would just keep going because you're just so lit up and you've got no idea of what's going on. So it's great for a projector or another generator to ask you a sacral question, which is a yes, no based question. Are you hungry? And you go, yeah. Did you know that? No. Oh, but I'm hungry. Because we're asking sacral questions, yes, no questions to bring out, well, what do you have energy for next? So projectors are here to really guide, generate energy.
see, and that's what I love about this because, again, in your work environment, how you are, how you function, how people function, either within their families, when you start understanding your own, you know, your human design, that's the whole thing that you get the most out of life while you're here. I work with the Akashic Records and something a little different, but Archangel Metrodon, and the amount of times as I said, that person's got to go back again. That soul has not done what they wanted to do. Send them back again. As a past life coach as well, I hear it again and again. So things like this, working on your soul, working on, I'm sorry, I turned into the energy thing again,
Please
but
do.
working on your soul reason why you're here, and then looking at your instruction manual going, okay, it's a bit like when you wash a jumper or trousers or whatever, you're looking at the temperature, you know, you mustn't wash, you know, it's got to be hand washed if it's wool, whatever it is. This is what this is doing. This is like the instructions on the tin of how to cook something, prepare something, and you know, all the instructions, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, we have a live audience in front of us, and I was wondering if we would open it up to them to sort of see if there's anything that we could, you know, answer any questions while we're here, because I think that's important too.
Mm.
So if there is anybody or any insights that you've discovered while you've been sitting here listening to us, we're open to that. It's entirely up to you. This means you guys.
So our charts are full of defined elements, the colored in stuff, and then the open stuff, which is the white stuff. And the defined stuff shows us your fixed nature. That's you, right? But your open stuff in the chart, when there's more openness, the white stuff, than there is defined stuff, shows us the nurture. So we can then pull a whole spectrum of what beliefs and narratives and things could be coming out of those white open spaces. So that's where we work with narrative changes and stuff like this, and permission giving, so you can step into your nature, because so many of us have so many defense mechanisms, so many different beliefs, that we're not actually living through our defined elements, right? So we have to do those freeing permissions and validating stuff. Is that making sense by what I'm saying? For example, and this is up to, I'm just saying that there's a course available, but the workshop I'm running works with this. So we spend an hour on each center looking at the healthy and unhealthy expressions. And we work at changing these from I should do this and I'm not fitting in and I can't get it right and I'm just not good enough, and all of the whatever the beliefs are, or I need to people please, or I just need to get this before I'm good enough. We look at every one of those things and we flip them on their heads, and we have conversations around it, because the nurture elements can be shifted and the nature elements then we can align with.
So I think I think the whole thing though with the modalities, like as in with the human design, it's what feels right in a way. I'm going to use the word terminology as in feel right. So I feel that to explore possibilities. Look, yeah, I studied psychology and I was a psychotherapist for a while and a counselor, and I remember the labels so that I could then give to the courts for certain people, people being sections and stuff like that. And I know for myself, looking back on it, it doesn't make sense to give someone a label. I know me being given the label of being dyslexic, and I had post-traumatic stress and after the accident, everything else. I think the only benefits and I've got a health condition, and the only benefits to me having a label to any of what I found out about myself through those professionals in the world of science was that, in a way, it sort of gave me permission in my world to sort of say, look, yeah, I have got a chronic lung condition, so I can't go do this and I shouldn't be able to do that. But actually, I needed to know that to help myself mentally from like how I was feeling about myself psychologically. I think with the thing with human design, it gives you access to finding out more about yourself, so to develop yourself. But it's not sort of saying you're definitely this and da 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 da. It's about working with it. So it's a sort of trying to enable you to feel more comfortable with who you are, accepting of who you are. Like when Rebecca was telling me about some of my, about traits about me, like what she was saying earlier, it helped me to understand actually that born into my family that I was born in, it was domestic violence and all the abuse. Excuse me, that it's funny. My voice needed to be heard in my family and it wasn't getting heard. So by knowing more about my human design, it actually, in a way, gave me permission to sit with myself and go, it's okay, Anne. My younger self needed to hear that because my younger self was really upset and caught up in my past. But now understanding that this was my modality, this is my style of my human design, this is how I'm doing my human design. And even now, at the age of 55, I'm still finding out more things about myself. So it's about what feels right. It's not about pushing any modality onto anyone. It's about what feels comfortable for yourself. And that's the most important thing. So thank you for that question.
So we have 26 imprinting factors. So every single one of these gates over here, so 62.6, all of this, isn't just the 60-second gate. This is 62.6, but it goes lower than that. So it goes 62.6, 0.1, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, or whatever it is. So each gate has a potential of 1,080 variations of itself. And you have 26 of them. So as someone that looks at charts, I'm not just looking at you're a generator or you're a projector. I'm looking into the specific activations. And I don't go as deep as that 0.2, 0.1, 0.2, because you need a very precise birth time for that. But your chart isn't just projector, generator. That is the surface level stuff. We're looking at everything. We're looking at the channels. We're looking at the centers. We're looking at the mechanics. We're looking at the cross. We're looking at the arrows, which are PHS. We're looking at the tone, the color, the base, all of this stuff. And we're looking at the profile. There's so much stuff that goes into a chart. So although there's two people in the chat that put the maybe 1-3 manifesting generators, that is the most surface level stuff. Even when we go to twins, for example, that are born minutes apart, you go down into those deep layers and there are differences. So no one has the exact same chart. And even if they did have the exact same chart, just for argument's sake, they would have had a completely different upbringing, completely different nurture elements. So we're working in different ways. So every chart is completely different when you do look into the depths of it. I like that you're speaking about the human level, because we are a soul in a body, and that you can do spiritual work and psychic work, and you can go into deeper elements like non-duality and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're still in a human body. Human design does, it looks at the mechanics behind your human body, which enables you then to go deeper into your spiritual practices, which is another pillar which is really important into your personal development. So that's really important.
I love that, because that is that 360 degree of the actual human being as the human in that thing. So working with that modality, yeah, as you said, I mean, with Rebecca initially, I mean, when as a child, we had loads of blood tests on her because we thought she was anemic. We thought there was something wrong with her because she was just she just like, sorry, I'm going to use the word slouching on the sofa watching TV all the time. I'm like, but come on. And then, you know, when you used to go skiing with your dad and your brother, they were up and down the mountain every couple of seconds, whereas yourself, it was very different. It was like, no, don't have the energy for that. And we didn't understand. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and what I wanted to clarify was there are some people going to be listening to this going, yeah, but I'm a generator and I get tired. Yeah, it's a different kind of thing and for different reasons. Of course, you're going to get tired. We're human beings. We all get tired, but there's a different mechanical process around projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. Generators, of course, are going to get tired, but it's a very kind of different thing. Generators have energy for things that they are here for. So when you're in alignment, you're going to keep generating energy. So for example, you could have been exhausted today, but you get energy because you're a generator and this is aligned to you. So you start going, I don't know why I was tired a minute ago, but now I've got energy because the energy comes. But if you are a generator who's genuinely feeling like really bogged down and exhausted and tired, when that sacral center gets so filled up with stuff that is not aligned to you and you're really frustrated in life, which is your signpost frustration that you're coming off track, you need to clear that out so that you can actually then respond to life, because otherwise it's just so bogged down. So yes, you're going to get tired, but generators have a very different mechanic. We also look into charts to see whether you're here to be consistently active or inconsistently active, or here to expend your energy through your emotional release or through your physical release. There's lots of different things that we look into a chart. Should it be routine? Should it be more ad hoc? Do you need a toolbox or do you actually need that routine? So remember, this is all surface level stuff until it comes into the specifics of your chart. So yes, you might be getting tired, but for very different reasons. Projectors, like as you were saying, like when I go skiing, dad and my brother up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's not just them. If I go with a partner, they're up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm like, can't do it anymore. Give me more sugar. And the sugar doesn't help. So it's just a different energy release. So we don't have that consistent energy release, especially as someone with no motors in their chart, which is relatively rare.
I love that. And that's why it's so important really to know where we are.
Essentially, human design, one of the different parts of it is astrology. So astrology is kind of within human design. So human design kind of says astrology is a 7-centered modality and human design is a 9-centered modality. Essentially, astrology is a little bit out of date. I don't want to, poo-poo anything, but a little bit out of date compared to human design. But what I'm saying is, within human design, we use the planets to work out which gates are activated. And the gates come from the Chinese I Ching. So again, it's still ancient wisdom. And again, we've got those conscious elements, which is from your natal birth chart, but we've also got the unconscious elements, which is a prenatal chart that was taken 3 months before you were born. It's to do with the solar movement of the sun. So I think it was 88 to 89 degrees of the solar movement before birth. We take the prenatal chart, apologies. So that quantum between body and mind comes together to create a very, very unique being. So yeah, it goes much deeper. So we do have astrology within it. We do have flavors of the planets and they activate different gates, but we use it as like a planetary tool rather than just astrology.
I think we are absolutely done now, Rebecca. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we leave?
No, just that there is a workshop that's running. So it starts on the 12th of March and it's going to be running on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for 5 weeks. So this workshop that's running isn't one that I've come up with. This is an official workshop. I've called it the Human Design Workshop, but it's officially known as the Living Your Design Workshop. So that's a course that has been developed by the International Human Design School, has been running for decades and was actually discovered or created by the founder of Human Design. So I'm a certified guide within that, and I've had over 220 students that have come through that course and over 1,000 human design clients over the past few years. So you're in safe hands. But if you do want to go into those kind of depths of who you are on a really strong foundational level, this is perfect. We go into each center about an hour. We have lots of discussions. You can ask questions, you can pull in your experiences, and we work on kind of looking at the unhealthy and healthy expressions of yourself. That's the first half. The second half is how you align to your unique self, how you align through your decision-making tool. It's on for sale now, but there's also payment plans as well. We've just put on today.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you all so much for being here, our live audience. It's been absolutely divine, sort of talking to you all and answering those questions. And